This issue will start by going to our feature article, IMAA's annual Rally of the Giants. The International Model Aircraft Association held its annual fly-in on the beautiful Experimental Aircraft Association grounds in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. This is the place where over 500,000 people gather every year for the annual EAA fly-in. We have not come to Oshkosh to look at thousands of experimental aircraft. We're here to meet some of the great people who build and fly giant-scale RC planes. 375 pilots brought over 500 giant-scale planes to one of the best facilities in the country.
We're talking with Jim Cumero and his giant fleet. Jim, tell us about your airplane.
Well, it's a 1/3 scale 1930 Model 2 fleet bipe. It's scratch built from Ron Weiss plans. He's out of New York. And the engine is a Zenoa G62. The covering is a SIG coverall with butyrate dope. And it weighs 31 pounds, Futaba 1024 radio, and it's a very scale type of airplane. Fly scale, Bennett smoke system on it. And I'm real happy with the stability and everything else about it.
What is this airplane?
This is the blue Max. It's I call it the ugly twin. I built it so heavy that I couldn't fly it with a single, so I made a twin on it.
Well, this is Mike Goldowski. Mike has got not a Stearman, right? This is a...
Bob Dively's Su-2 Corsair is a World War II aircraft carrier trainer. It's 16 pounds biplane. It's got the Mike GR6-120 two-cycle radial engine that my company, Radial Engine Technologies, designs and makes and sells. It's got 6 cylinders as opposed to odd numbers that other radials have. The 6 cylinders result in opposed piston firing. The pistons balance one another. There's virtually zero vibration on the engine. It's not soft mounted at all. It swings an 18.8 prop at 8,000 RPM. Produces 3 horsepower, 16 pounds of thrust. Get near vertical performance on this aircraft.
Okay, Mike, I first saw your engine just this past year, so this is fairly new, isn't it?
I was at the Ram show in White Plains 2 years ago for the first time, again this year, and at Toledo this year.
Okay, how long have you been working on this radial engine?
It's 2 years now, and we've been selling it for about 1.5 years.
Okay, tell me a little bit more. Do you manufacture the entire engine, or what part?
We actually use K&B 20 Sportsters, and we're coming out with another engine, which I have a prototype here, with K&B 28s that produces 4 horsepower. These stock engines are modified slightly with gears on the end and ball bearings to support the shaft loads, and they basically are the guts of the two-cycle K&B engine. They are then geared together in a gearbox to reduce your prop speed down. The 8,000 RPM on the prop really results in about 12,500 on the KMB 20s.
Idle with that track for this. You want to hold that down? I'll rev it up a little bit. That's the new Lanier Stinger, and it's 85-inch wingspan. It's got a G62 in it. It weighs 21 pounds. This is an introductory model for Lanier. It's different. It's wood and foam, not so much plastic as just the plastics for the detail pieces, a wood fuselage and a foam wing, cap stripped in balsa wood. It's got big surfaces on it. It slows down nice. There's only 2 of these right now, but this will be a new Lanier product in 4 months. It'll cost you about $150. That's good for a big airplane.
Speaking with Jack Moore. Jack, I can identify, I don't know, maybe a few dozen planes, but I can't identify yours.
All right, this is a 1931 Heath Parasol, and real briefly, Ed Heath was a famous name in aviation in the 30s, and if you wanted to build a real airplane in your garage back in the 30s, this might have been one of the kits that you would build.
What was the engine intended for this?
The Heath Parasol, like I say, was a very popular airplane, and it was the kit was supplied with a 4-cylinder inline Henderson motorcycle engine. And the rumor is that Ed Heath bought all the worn-out motorcycle engines from the Chicago Police Department and rebuilt them and modified them, and they became aviation engines in those days. The plane is completely scratch-built. The plans came of the real airplane, 3 views came from Paul Matt Aviation Historical Album. And from those 3 views of the real plane, I developed plans for the model. And it's exactly 1/4 the size of the real one with a 94-inch span. And the interesting thing, I believe, of my airplane is the engine is homemade. I scratch built the airplane, the engine, and while we don't have the radio here, all the radio, the transmitter, and everything else is also built by me.
Okay, tell us a little more about the engine. This is interesting, and I see that it is a 4-stroke engine.
The engine is 4-stroke. The displacement is 0.94, almost 1 cubic inch. I call it the Aero 94. It swings a 15.6 Zinger prop at about 7,800 RPM, and that gives it a very realistic flight pattern. I'm really hooked on the engine part now, and this was sort of my learning engine, and now I'm building a 3-cylinder radial 4-stroke engine to go on another vintage airplane of that period.
So this was your first engine project?
First engine ever, and there was a lot of studying and a lot of research, and people asked me how long it took to build it, Well, I don't know. I spent as much time trying to put it on paper and research what the various clearances would be and sizes as the building part. So between the plane and the engine, it was a 3-year project.
Roger Shaw from Henderson, Nevada demonstrates the aerobatic capability of this 98-inch wingspan Extra 230. Bruce Thorpe from the SIG Manufacturing Company piloted Claude McCullough's Rawdon T1. Claude tells us this aircraft was designed in the 1920s for an Air Corps trainee competition. At 20.5 pounds and 100 inches of wing, Claude chose the OS 160 for power. Kenneth Bryant brought this Sukhoi Su-26M, a new plane soon to be available from Byron Originals. Ken has powered it with a Sato 270, and it weighs 20 pounds. Another new kit available from Byron Originals is this Ryan STA, built by Kenneth Bunt. Ken has chosen the Super Tiger 2000 for power.
That biplane. It never comes back.
An attraction for holding an event on the EAA grounds is the EAA Museum and the Pioneer Airport. More than one modeler was found taking pictures and notes. A great place to find inspiration for that new giant-scale project. Ground transportation was provided from the flight line.
We'd like to welcome you to the IMAA Rally of Giants 1990 here in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. We've been here since Thursday, June 28th, and this being Saturday, we're winding down with our IMAA rally. We've been very fortunate this year to have a facility of this size and the cooperation of the people of the EAA and the Explorer Scouts, the Friends of Oshkosh, people here in town, and just about anybody that's around has been volunteering to help us and make us a really great festival.
Once again, the organizers and volunteers put on a barbecue for several hundred hungry pilots. For the first time, the IMAA Rally of Giants has included a location and facility for flying giant-scale float planes.
Okay, we're speaking with Lloyd Roberts, and Lloyd, you've organized a little bit the float portion of this event.
Well, it was my idea. Ray Hines, who's the District 1 director of New England, and myself have put it on. Ray is taking care of the paperwork, and myself and a few folks from Maine and New Hampshire are doing the flight line operations and just kind of standing in the shade and making sure things are running right.
Where are we here?
We're on the edge of Lake Winnebago, about 5 miles from the EAA site in Oshkosh, and this is actually the site of the EAA seaplane area, where they have about 200 seaplanes in here in another month or so. We've had some 20-odd planes here in the last couple of days, and it's a lovely spot. Nice sheltered water, a little breeze coming in off the lake. We can stand around in the shade instead of baking on the hot runways. And we're pretty laid back. We have one plane in the air, so there's no radio interference, no traffic, and we're having a good time.
Saw you fly this plane. We'd like to learn a little bit more about the plane you've brought.
This is a Lockheed Sirius, flown by Charles and Ann Lindbergh from Maine to China in 1931, and she wrote a book about it called North to the Orient. The plane is built from Wendell Hostetler's plans. The floats are scratch built from photographs and 3 views from the Smithsonian. It weighs 28 pounds, is powered by a Sato 270 on ignition, wingspan about 104 inches, and it's a nice flying airplane. I figured if Lindbergh liked it, it was probably a good flyer, and I was right on that score.
Great. Thank you very much, Lloyd.
Down the river a ways and come back. To the right. Calmer back here.
Hi, I'm Doug Pratt, and we're here for another episode of the Sport Flyers Corner. The Reston RC Club has very kindly let us use their field for a little while here, so we can be out in the sunshine or glare rather than being inside in the air conditioning. As I've mentioned before, I'm working on a book on radio-controlled electric-powered airplanes, which will be out from Tab Books early in 1990. And as a result of writing this book, I'm up to my hips in electric airplanes. So very briefly, in the space of a short article, I'd like to go through some of these and show you a little bit about what I've learned. To start with, this is the Goldberg Mirage. Brand new design from Carl Goldberg Models, and it flies closer to an Electra than anything that I've ever seen that looks like a genuine airplane. It's a very easy to build kit, has a built-up tail, quite lightweight. There's a little bit of ply on the inside, but the reinforcing is cut down to what's absolutely necessary. Has a great hatch on the bottom for making the battery replaceable without having to take the wing off, and it comes with a motor and the wiring harness, everything that you need. I'm using a speed controller in this, and I like to use a speed controller on a plane like this because it lets me look for a good cruise speed. I can throttle the thing back, fly at about 2 clicks below idle, and I can get 14 and 16 minutes out of a battery charge. Incidentally, I'm using an Ace Olympic 5 system here, which is one of the nicest systems for electric flight. It's also very economical. This is a Graupner speed control in this. Right about there is where it'll cruise. You ready? Oh, that would help. Let's be graceful. Under power, it scoots along nicely. Okay. This next one is an Astroflight Mini Challenger. This is the plane that Astro is touting as their beginner's model, and it's an excellent airplane. I like it a lot. It's one that I've taken on trips, and it's definitely a keeper out of the 30-odd airplanes that I've built for this book. The fuselage is very easy to build. It comes with a nose block with a big hole in it that just fits the 035 Cobalt that's included with the kit. The wing can be a little tricky to build because of the bend in the leading edge, but it's really not that hard. And I found it to be a very, very good airplane. One of the nice things that they're doing with it is including this Graupner scimitar blade folding prop, which really adds to the performance of the 035 Cobalt system that it comes with. And it's a nice little high-performing sailplane that'll get in and out of a small space. See the way this thing turns on a dime? I love it. If that won't keep you in a thermal, nothing will. This is a Great Plains PT Electric. It's part of their primary trainer series, and I have been very pleased with it. Very easy to build. The instruction manual is fantastic. I mean, a high school educated chimpanzee could build this thing. It has a nice hatch on the bottom of it for the battery packs. Everything is very easy to use. It even includes a switch and a push rod so that you can rig up your own on-off switch system with it. Okay. Nice, easy flying airplane. If it can survive these no-step hand launches, it's got to be good. This plane comes with a motor, battery. No, I'm wrong. It doesn't come with a battery. It comes with a motor and a prop. I used SIG Supercoat film to cover this in. Very lightweight film, low temperature film too, which makes it a little easier to work with. It's got a pretty good power off glide. More than good enough for a trainer. Turning the power on and off doesn't throw the trim all over the place the way it has with some models. Definitely a good airplane. This, for those of you who think that an electric airplane has to be something that just putt-putts around the sky slowly, is a Great Plains Electrostreak. Fully aerobatic capable, electric-powered airplane. It's a little touchy. The kit itself is not hard to build. It's a very well-engineered kit. You need an on-off control. The motor and prop comes with it. A good motor combination. You must use a 7-cell battery pack. I'm using 7-cell SR batteries, 1800 milliamp packs, and it'll do just about every aerobatic maneuver in the book for 6 minutes. I have been very impressed with this airplane, and if you want a full channel, 4-channel full house airplane, this is the one to go with. Going back to the world of trainers a little bit, this is an Aero Electric from Midwest. This is part of their Aerostar series. The electric version of it comes with a motor, with a prop, with a power system, an on-off switch. I was very impressed with this kit. Anybody could build this. It's all sheet wood. There aren't any lightning holes. There's nothing special that you have to do because it's an electric, and it performs very, very well. I'm using the Futaba system on this that has the speed control incorporated into the receiver, and it also means that you don't have to put in a receiver battery pack. So you save a couple of ounces there. Let's try this in a different direction. I think the wind is changing on me. Plenty of power for a flat-footed hand launch. Now let's throttle it back and find a good cruise speed. At that cruise speed, a typical pack will last you about 7 minutes. Just a nice, easy flying airplane. Nice and easy. That's the best one yet. Unfortunately, electric planes don't taxi on grass. A lot of people think that electric airplanes are essentially sailplanes. There are quite a few of them that are like that. This one, though, is a little unique because it's an ARF. This is the Electrosaur. It's a new product from Royal Products in Colorado. It comes completely built, and it's wood, which is great because it can be crashed and repaired. You can even adjust the wing and bend washout into it with a heat gun by shrinking the fabric. All you have to, this was a one-evening project. All you have to do is join the two wing halves, epoxy the tail in, slap a radio in it, and go. And I'm using the Futaba MCR4A system here, so I didn't even have to install a receiver pack. I just servo-taped the servos to the sides of the fuselage and went with it. It comes with a very nice motor and folding prop. This is a scimitar blade prop that I'm very impressed with. And it's a good flying sailplane. I had it in a thermal for about 18 minutes this morning. That was without trying real hard, of course. The wind just changed on me again. Okay, let's go off to the left then. I like that better anyway. I'm a little handicapped by not being able to take a running start when I launch them. So a plane that can get away from a flat-footed launch has got to have pretty good power. This one not only has good power, it's a good thermal machine. Kind of racy looking with the sloped wing. I love that prop. While we're on the subject of ready-to-fly airplanes, this is the Kyosho Cessna Cardinal. Kyosho's been making ready-to-fly electrics for some years, and this is by far the best of the bunch. In my opinion, some of their earlier electrics were very difficult to fly if you're not an expert. However, the Cardinal, I really feel that a beginner can be successful with. It's got a very tough blow-molded fuselage. The wing is fantastic, comes in two halves, you epoxy them together. One thing I like is that the tail bolts on with two bolts, so that you can pull the tail off and pack the thing up in a suitcase. Comes with a nice motor. I'm using the Futaba attack system in this plane, and the combination works out very well. Now, on this I'm going to need a little help for the hand launch, so...
I'll be launch boy.
You're launch boy. How you feeling, Jeff?
Pretty good, Doug. How
That's
are you?
good. Glad to hear it. Okay,
right.
Give me a couple of running steps and heave away. That's great. Better than I do it. Man has skill. Not charm, but skill. See, this thing toots along just fine. Gentle in the turns. Plenty of power at full throttle. You can expect it to go about 4 minutes on a typical battery pack. Okay, let's set up an approach. Throttle it back just a tad. Make our downwind leg. Hold the nose up just a little. Bring the engine back. Cut the engine. Not bad. One of the finest trainer planes I have ever seen, much less flown, is the LaCrate. This was designed by Bill Winter some years ago. I think I can claim a little credit for getting old Bill interested in electric power, and when he got interested in it, he decided to optimize it. This is all of his free flight experience poured into an electric airplane, and it is just a fabulous flying airplane. This is a plane that'll do 20 minutes in dead air without trying. Davy Systems has produced it as a kit. It's a very good kit. The wood in it is excellent. The plans are good. It's not what I would call a rank beginner kit, because it's going to take a little skill to put this thing together. But it's well worth the effort. I just love the way this plane flies, and you will too. We have an Altec gear unit set up in this thing with a master air screw folding prop on 7 cells and an on-off switch, and it's got more than enough power. Okay, time to call for my launch boy. Jeff, you want to launch this? It's more fun that way. Nice covering job, by the way. That's all super coverite.
No, that's Polk's Polytex.
Oh, Polytex? Okay, good stuff. Up in the air, Junior Birdman. A plane like this really should have a speed controller on it so that you can hunt for a good cruise speed. That'll extend the battery run by as much as 2 minutes. And finally, one of the nicest airplanes I worked over for this book is the Airtronics Eclipse. It wasn't any particular surprise that it flew well, since it's really based on the Olympic 650. But this is one airplane that converted to electric just beautifully. Aerotronics kits are fantastic anyway. I can't imagine how they make any money with the amount of handwork and accessories and everything else that's included in that box. The Eclipse comes with a leisure gear drive unit, which is very easy to work with. You can use this folding prop that's also included, and you can change gears in the leisure unit so that you can get different gear ratios. I've never worried about that, actually. It's just worked fine for me anyway, in any way, shape, and form. And what can I say? It's one of the nicer flying airplanes around. This thing will thermal with no problems. Okay, launch boy. Oh, talk about...
This is the last time I walk on camera till the producer gets me fishnet stockings and heels.
Talk about wretched excess, having somebody to run after your airplanes for you. Yeah, which way? You're looking the wrong direction. There we go.
Some launch boy. Go ahead.
Some launch boy. Okay, wiggle controls. Fine. Here we go. Oh, that's gorgeous. Aerotronics does it again. What a fantastic plane. You want climb? We got climb. You want loops? We got loops. You want tight turns? We got tight turns. Shut her down. And we got a nice, easy flying airplane. What could be better?
This sailplane wing is from Carl Goldberg's Sophisticated Lady Kit, and I'm going to use it to show you how to apply different colors of covering material over an open bay wing with no supporting wooden structure underneath. You notice that the bottom of the wing is not yet covered, and that's the trick to being able to do this properly. I'll take a piece of red film here, peel away the backing strip, and lay it in place over the top of the wing. I'm overlapping here about 1/4 inch. I would normally do this only about 1/8 of an inch, but when there's no wood structure underneath to support, a little extra material helps keep the seam from separating. We'll tack it at both corners, and the trick is right here. Like I said, we've not covered the bottom of the wing yet, so I'm going to stick my finger under the bottom of the wing and use that to support the covering while I tack the upper covering in place on top of it. Now you may know the wing is unsupported, but the wing and the covering material don't know it's unsupported. So it works just fine. We'll come along here and pull the opposite end of the tip. Anytime you can pull the wrinkles out before you heat the covering down to put it in place, you're going to have tighter covering that'll take less heat to shrink it later on. Use the divide by half method on the tip, on the leading edge rather. Cut that distance in half. Cut that distance in half. This keeps the material from gathering at either end. Tack it down all the way around the whole perimeter. Use the tip of the iron to make sure that the joint is completely adhered. The trick to going around the corner of the wing is heat, and for this we'll use a heat gun. I'm going to heat the material and pull it after the heat allows it to soften. If you're a little more squeamish than I am, a nice warm glove might help you some so you don't burn your fingers or your hand. Now I'm going to go around the entire perimeter of the covering material and make sure it's nailed down flat. A straight cut. You might wonder how you're going to get a straight edge next to the wing in order to cut this straight. Well, you don't really have to do anything like that. The end of the wing is the straight edge. Watch this. All I do is hold this piece of material so it can't go anywhere. Get the knife started. Use the leading edge of the airplane as the straight edge. Can't get much straighter than that, and you don't need a tool to do it. Go around the perimeter of the wing the same way. And then iron down the rest of the material onto the structure. When you've got the piece hammered down, you can shrink it all using a heat gun. Once both pieces are on and adhered properly, you can use the heat gun to shrink them down. And then use the iron to see that the covering is firmly adhered to all the structure underneath. You want to get each rib, plus the leading edge and the trailing edge. There's a throwback to the age of silk span and dope that says you must cover the bottom first and then over the top so that all the seams overlap on the bottom. Well, if you look at covering materials logically, the only thing that is any problem at all with the covering material that irons on is the fact that the color's already there and seams tend to show up. The easiest way to eliminate seams is to not have any, and the way to not have a seam is to make each connection of material a color change. This way you don't have a seam, you have a color change. I'll use a different color entirely on the bottom of the wing, and you won't see any of these seams. All you'll see is a different color, and it really doesn't matter whether you cover the bottom of the wing or the top of the wing first. The important thing is that you're able to get your finger under there or a scrap of stick wood or something like that to be able to nail the covering down unsupported over the open bay. This is an Electra wing panel, and you can see the effect of a different color where a seam comes in. Instead of worrying about seeing a seam, had I covered the bottom of the wing white, covered the bottom of the wing in a different color, and you don't have a seam, you have a color change. It really does work.
Quadra, the name that has become a symbol since it started the large-scale movement 15 years ago. Quadra stands for reliability and excellent value. Quadra engines are now crafted by Aero in Perth, Canada. The Q35S, the introduction level engine, now produces 2.5 horsepower and still weighs only 3.8 pounds. It comes completely equipped with aluminum mount and a good muffler. The larger brother is the Q42P engine, preferred by some and largely used in models supplied by Byron Originals. This engine is renowned for its easy starting. It produces 3 horsepower and still weighs only 4 pounds. The engine comes complete with an aluminum mount and a muffler. Our deluxe model in the 42cc size is the Q42CD, featuring a third bearing at the location of the points, with a spring starter built into the mount. The next step up is the Q52S engine. Since its introduction in 1982, the engine has seen many improvements. The latest include a larger bore cylinder, modified intake and exhaust timing, and a larger carb insulator. The cylinder is bored and Nicosil plated. It also features a cam-turned piston with a single cast piston ring. The Q52S produces 4.5 horsepower and weighs 5.1 pounds without the muffler. The popularity of models weighing over 30 pounds provides an ideal application for the Quadra 100. It produces 8.5 horsepower and weighs 7.9 pounds. It has seen extended duty since 1982 in military applications. This Quadra loves to excel with propellers 24-inch and larger. We supply this engine with an aluminum mount, spring starter and compression release valve for easier starting, and a large volume muffler. To round off the Quadra lineup, we now have a Q35 and Q42 hobby engine, which is used in helicopters, boats, and RC cars. It is available in either clockwise or counterclockwise rotation and comes completely equipped with the aluminum mount, a muffler, and a combination blower fan and pull starter. Quadra Aero, the name that has symbolized large-scale modeling for 15 years.
We're speaking with Don Albright. He's bought a pair of these B25s. Don, did you scratch build these planes?
Yes, I did.
Tell us a little bit about the construction.
They're all balsa. The wings and fuselage are all balsa. It's a Bob Johnson's kit, Bob Johnson's plans out of Toledo, and they both fly very well. They do a real good job.
What are they sheeted with?
Just balsa, 3/32 balsa wood. This one's covered with super cover right, the other one's monocoat.
And what have you got for power plants on them?
2 Quadra 35s with homemade 3-bladed props, and we got Robart landing gear.
How come 2 of them?
The one's my practice airplane. We've done a lot of practice and a lot of changing with that one, and then after we got it right, we built this one for flying the spatial shows.
The obvious question with a twin engine is, have you gotten it down with one engine?
We have never had an engine fail yet. We've
amazing.
Them. The one's got over 50 flights. This one only has 6, but we've never had an engine quit on us yet.
That's great. That's great. What do you count that to? Good engine handling or just luck?
We just try and keep them adjusted a little rich so they don't lean out and die. But we just haven't had any trouble with the quadras. That's the reason we put quadras in them.
We're going to spend a few minutes here and talk with Craig Morris. Craig has a new aircraft out that's really unique. It's called the Frontier, and the name of his company is Tailwind Aviation. Craig's out of Vicksburg, Michigan. Craig, tell us what makes the Frontier unique.
Well, first of all, we designed the airplane around the common mishaps we experience at the flying field. I like to say that the Frontier is durability with a flair. Primarily what's different is that we use aluminum down the center of the fuselage. We call it aluminum boom to get the structural integrity. The balsa wood complements the aluminum boom and acts as nothing more than an aerodynamic fairing housing your radio equipment. However, it does support the vertical stabilizer. It's got a foam core wing, and we skin that with 1/64 inch plywood. The spars are placed in a rather conventional way, yet very unique in that we use wooden dowels to place the aluminum spars in, so it gives it a rather strategic angle to it and makes it quite a bit more stout than we're commonly used to.
What makes this plane really unique, in my opinion, is that it's amazingly large aircraft. It has nice looking lines, but it also breaks down. It's very modular. Maybe you could tell us a little more about that.
Yes, with this aluminum boom that we run down the middle, this allows us to simply part the aircraft in the middle by using just one simple AN bolt. It's very durable. We've crash tested these airplanes with a Genoa 62 on it and found that the boom is mild enough to absorb the impact and allow the rest of the aircraft to survive.
Fantastic. Well, let's take a look inside.
Certainly. First of all, to disassemble the Frontier, we use two simple tools, a 3/8 inch nut driver and a T-handled Allen wrench. We begin by just pulling off the center cowling, which is retained by two rubber bands. We use rubber bands so in case of an impact, it'll just part and leave the incident. Then next, all we need to do is remove one of the center bolts by loosening it. The T-handled wrench is used to break the number 6 screws, clamping the selected grade phenolic blocks which bind on the spars to retain them. After we have accomplished this, we can simply part the wings. It takes approximately 3 minutes. There's nothing magical about it. We moved one wing here. The Frontier flies on a 124 stroke all the way up to a 3.7 gasoline motor. And here we simply have it. Nothing more, nothing less. It's now possible to put this in the back seat of a VW automobile.
My name is Ralph Braun. I'm from Winnemac, Indiana, and got this model of a Cessna Citation 2, which is 5.5 scale. The builders were Dave Escobar and Jerry Keller, and I placed them under contract a year ago this week to build this model for me. And they actually came through in record time with an outstanding looking aircraft as well as an outstanding flying aircraft. The aircraft was first shown at Toledo this spring, about 2 months ahead of schedule. And we got our test flights in just shortly thereafter. And we first originally flew it with the OS-91 engines with the Tom Cook ducted fans on it. And it was really out of scale. And one of the things that we tried to do with this ship was to try to keep it as close to scale as possible, because I also own the full scale of this plane also. And my achievement was realism and scale. We originally started out with 91 engines on these Tom Cook ducted fans, and we had the two 24-ounce tanks on the CG in the fuselage, and we were running 2-ounce outboard tanks up by the nacelles. What we discovered was that because of the distance between the center line of the fuselage and where the nacelles are, that in tight banks we was leaning the top engine out, and by leaning it out, naturally we was overheating it, and eventually we did damage to 2 of the engines before we discovered that we wasn't getting fuel good enough to the system. We just couldn't feed the 91 engines good enough. So what we did is we went back and put in 65s, which made it fly more to scale also, and at the same time put Perry pumps on the 65s and did away with the nacelle bleeder or little reserve tanks up in the nacelles. And at this time the pumps and the 65s are working perfect, and we're not having any problems at all. So we're just going to leave a good setup go at this particular time, and if we have to switch back to the 91s at some time, we're going to have to figure out a way to get enough fuel up into them, I guess. Thanks a lot.
pilot that lost that airplane behind him.
Time for the photo pass. Get the cameras ready. Here she comes. Hard to tell from the real thing. Got a little bit of a headwind this time. There's the hand. Steady start.
Getting her to mix up the glue right now. We're going to secure the bomb inside the airplane so it doesn't move around while they're in flight.
What is that you're using?
5-minute epoxy.
What is it?
It's about 3 ounces of flash powder and black powder and about a quart of diesel fuel. You got an electric match on the inside of the container. There's a small bottle on the inside of this container that has the explosive in it. We're going to stick this right down inside the fuselage next to the gas tanks, and when this blows, it'll also take the gas tank out of the airplane with it. And while that's waiting to harden up, we'll separate our wires here. We've got our control lead here marked bomb. Put the one wire off the bomb on that. Got a wire nut on it.
So is it live now?
Not yet. We take the other side of the wire. I notice that the audience is diminishing quickly. You take the other side of it and hook to the common wire that goes back to the battery. Now, the mechanism inside here has to travel with the servo to make contact before this circle will be completed. It's live. Second wire nut. And then we got one more circuit to hook up here.
Now this looks dangerous. Actually, you haven't had a mishap with this system yet.
Let me put it this way, if I had, I wouldn't be here talking to you. This side goes to the wire coming off the smoke side. Okay, it's completely armed. All we have to do now is put the canopy back on it.
How come the holes are cut into the window?
To let air in. Once this container blows, I want to get oxygen into the airplane quick so she'll burn.
So what's the sequence?
Sequence is first they'll fire the smoke cartridge. He'll probably make about one pass, come back up over the hill, and then he'll hit the bomb.
Fred Anderson has loaded about 20 zeros for detonation in the Striking Back show. Out of the 20, 4 have not gone off on cue, either from an early crash or the safety system would not allow detonation. Fred is a professional at what he does. The results are impressive and realistic.